So I'd like to introduce Brother Evan Jackson. He is our Grand Chapter Junior Vice Polemarch, which means for Kappa Alpha Psi from an undergraduate perspective, but he holds the highest office that you can hold. So ask Brother Jackson to talk a little bit about leadership, and Brother Jackson, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Brother Burnett. And good evening, everybody. It's really a pleasure for me to be here. As Brother Burnett knows, I always love speaking to our young Kappa League brothers, and it always gives me joy and pleasure. Really, I'll be brief tonight. I really want to focus on two things that I think are really important in regards to leadership in the small amount of leadership experience that I do have. The two things that I've really realized that are very important are, number one, showing up, and number two, giving back. So I'll break those down a little bit. So number one, showing up. And this is one of the things that our grand Polemarch brother Ruben Shelton actually first taught me, and I've realized to be very, very true. And whether it be in Kappa, whether it be in the company that I run, whether it be in my leadership positions within my campus, I realized that the first step is really showing up. And if you don't show up, you can't win, you know, and you realize very quickly that showing up is so important because most people don't show up. And that's a little key that you'll realize that as you continue to grow and develop in your leadership. You know, it's not the smartest people. It's not the people who can, you know, solve a Rubik's Cube in 10 seconds. It's not the people who can code a whole algorithm. It's the people that show up. And you really never realize that, you really never realize how few people really show up and how important that is in leadership. So that's number one. And if you show up, you learn. I'm a firm believer that if you really learn and understand something, if you just show up to hear someone speak, you can provide actionable insights that really become very intuitive. So number one, showing up. Number two, giving back. And that's really why I feel so honored to be on this call. You realize very quickly that you can't learn leadership by yourself. You really can't learn anything by yourself. And I've become very fortunate through my position and everything else that I do to really come in contact with some very, very intelligent people, very, very wise people who have really showed me the way and really showed me how important it is for me to give back now that I'm in a position to, when they've given back to me when they really didn't need to. And so that's why after all of our grand board calls tonight, that's why after a full day of work, I'm always so willing and excited to get on these phone calls because I feel like it's you know, it's my responsibility. And you realize very quickly that as you give back, the more you receive. And that's something that they say about Kappa as well. The more you put into it, the more you get out of it. So I'll leave you with those two big things. Number one, show up. Always make yourself available. Always be willing to get on the phone with someone, and always understand that you're never bigger than anyone else. No matter your accomplishments, you always have to be willing to show up and never take that for granted. And number two, always be willing to give back and make a difference in someone else's life, because you cannot get to where you want to go by yourself, and someone else can't get to where they need to go by themselves. And it's up to us, especially as an African-American community, to give back to each other and make sure that we're pulling each other up.
Thank you, Brother Jackson. Does anyone have any questions? Any of my young men have any questions? We're shy tonight, but anyway, Brother Jackson, I appreciate you. Those are great words, and again, I appreciate your time. And again, because I know you had a full slate going today, and so
yes,
take care. And we'll be talking. We'll be talking at a later point, but appreciate you.
Yes, sir, of course. And if any of the young brothers have any questions moving forward regarding leadership, or even about taking the next step into their college experience, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to give my personal advice there. So thank you guys for having me. Hope to speak to you again soon.
All right. Take care.